Hello. Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to the Court of the Edijester once again, good people. I hope that you are well. I think that sometimes it's important to highlight that which is best, and I've got an article for you today that I've got a few things to say about from Phil Cleary on Twitter at ClearlyPhil. This is an article in reference to Britain's free speech crisis, the weaponisation of complaints, and the erosion of police discretion. This is a topic that is bothering so many of us right now, especially considering what this Labour government are up to in regards to things like ID cards and free speech generally. But before we start, please do subscribe and share if you can. If you can buy me a coffee or whatever it takes to keep me going, I would be really grateful. Other than that, please do come and join the Warrior Teachers in October. We're building the team as usual. Fantastic stuff. And it would be great to have you come along, people from all over the world. Good folk generally. Good folk, which is what we like. Camaraderie, as I say. So we have here Britain's free speech crisis, the weaponisation of complaints and the erosion of police discretion from Phil Cleary, which is available as an article on Twitter. So there it is. You can see it in front of you there. It's had 1.1 million views so far, so this is no slouch in the article department. Britain, as Phil says, has long prided itself on upholding free speech as a democratic pillar. A democratic pillar. Very good. So public disquiet over arrests for so-called offensive tweets is hardly surprising. With the UK facing scrutiny for its high rate of speech-related prosecutions compared to other democracies, the time has come for Parliament, rather than the police, to define the boundary between free expression and criminality. There's a subheading then. The landscape has shifted markedly. In the 1890s, Phil, sorry, you're not that old. In the 1980s and 1990s, as a young police officer, I found the gravest ordeal, barring physical harm, was a summons to the superintendent's office. Now, this is interesting. You see here, police officer. So we're talking about somebody who's been in the force, understands the situation. So really worth listening to. I found the gravest ordeal, barring physical harm, was a summons to the superintendent's office. With a pounding heart, I'd check the state of my uniform, then take a steadying breath to compose myself. It's like being called to the manager's office. Oh, so many of us understand that, Phil. I knock, enter, and then stand rigidly at attention in front of his desk. On this occasion, I faced a complaint of neglect of duty after opting to issue a verbal warning to youths playing football on a public field. A dog walker had taken umbrage at their foul language. The lads apologised promptly, and I allowed them to continue with a firm caution against repeating behaviour. The complainant, dissatisfied, formally escalated the matter. My superintendent, after hearing my reasoning that the youths were unaware of the passerby and had expressed immediate regret, decided to issue me with advice: make a pocketbook entry next time, over initiating formal disciplinary action. He informed the complainant, reminded him they could still instigate civil proceedings against the youth, but for me, the matter was closed. My heart rate could return to normal. Is it me, or does that smack of old school British policing? It certainly does to me. There's something of the Dixon of Dock Green about that evening all, but definitely this concept of thoughtful work there between the superintendent and Phil. But today's legal framework places officers in an untenable position. Statutes designed to protect the vulnerable are increasingly wielded to silence dissent, with the Independent Office for Police Conduct exerting significant, albeit possibly subliminal, influence over police responses. Now, this is particularly interesting. I've had this conversation with police officers myself, in that they are completely hamstrung by the system now, which I think we'll find is what the system is supposed to do these days, is to hamstring them with some ridiculous ideas and notions. Activists, often legally advised, have mastered the art of invoking terms such as harassment, alarm, or distress to draw officers into disputes over mere opinions. A single grievance about an online post can unleash a cascade of consequences, with officers fearing disciplinary repercussions. Should they deem a case unworthy of action, activists can ultimately refer it to the IOPC, alleging inadequate investigation, sometimes over something as minor as not visiting the poster's address. In effect, the ability to invoke an IOPC investigation into an officer's decision-making has been weaponized. Have we not seen this elsewhere? Have we not seen this within universities? I've seen it and heard from people in workplaces where this happens. Even small workplaces, it can happen. This was not Parliament's intention. Laws were crafted to safeguard the vulnerable, not to criminalise banter or embroil officers in investigating online spats. Yet the spectre of referral looms over every decision, a modern-day sword of Damocles suspended above those tasked with enforcing the law. This is an extraordinary piece here, and giving us a real insight into a historic narrative told by a police officer of the current situation. It's untenable. The only thing I would disagree with Phil on here is I think it was Parliament's intention. That's the problem. I think a lot of this is designed to socially manipulate. Now, you can call that a tin hat theory if you like, but we've seen this kind of behavioural nudging before, and I think a lot of this is involved in that. A pernicious burden is the next subheading there from Phil. The protracted nature of IOPC. This is the Independent Office for Police Complaints, I believe, the IOPC. They often span several months, exacerbate the issues, fostering unease from constables to chief officers. Discretion, once the bedrock of policing is set aside, replaced by risk-averse rigidity. This is the tick box mind of the bureaucrat, isn't it? It's the spreadsheet mind of the bureaucrat. And here, affecting the police, who in this country are asked to police with consent. We give our consent to them to police. Peel, when he originally set the police up, made sure that happened, and that makes us different from just about everywhere else. So it's important to understand that difference in our policing in the UK, for example, as opposed to what policing in the USA might be like. Phil continues. Advocacy groups have seized on this vulnerability. In high-profile protest scenarios, they orchestrate waves of complaints, not to expose misconduct, but to challenge operational tactics, such as containment or stop and search. Parliamentary reports have noted that this involves oversight bodies, such as the IOPC, in political controversies, rendering the complaint system a vehicle for activism. Absolutely true. For anybody that's been in this fight long enough to have turned up at, for example, a WRN meeting or a Northern Radfem meeting or Posey Parker or any of these meetings that take place in public, then we've known what happens at those events. The police are forced into a very difficult situation. It makes the whole thing a disaster. Consequently, senior officers tread cautiously when faced with complaints, not just about online posts, but across a range of their operational responsibilities. Being required to police without fear or favour, they cannot openly expose how the threat of a formal complaint by pressure groups can shape their decision. To do so risks appearing weak or encouraging more vexatious complaints. That's a terribly worrying statement there. But silence has a cost. It hides how legal threats, some made more acute by added accusations of racism, are influencing frontline judgment. Now you see there the added accusations of racism. This is pure critical race theory. And pure grievance, mining grievance, usage of grievance as weapon, which is what we often see under these activists' banners, whether it comes to, trans, queer, race, whatever it may be. We know that they weaponize existing systems such as the police. And I would say that that's partially what Phil is getting at here. But silence has a cost. It hides how legal threats, some made more acute by added accusations of racism, are influencing the frontline judgment. To accuse them of lacking moral courage is unfair, for an IOPC investigation risks their career, reputation, and peace of mind with outcomes often uncertain. Exercising judgment risks scrutiny, whereas rigid adherence to procedure, however contentious in the public eye, shields them from the IOPC censure. This is very important, this particular bit. I'm going to end on this bit and let you go and read the rest so that you might want to comment on Phil's article. This is so important here. You can't exercise scrutiny because it risks terrible things for you as an individual policeman or policewoman. No matter however contentious in the public eye, very interesting, it shields them from the IOPC censure. We need massive change. I think Phil's right. I think Parliament's going to have to step in. I think that we have to change our relationship with the police back to what it used to be, and we need to give them the freedom to make decisions. But most of all, we need to give them the freedom for those decisions to be wrong, without opprobrium, investigation, and finally, as the worst case scenario would be, losing your role as a policeman. You don't go into being a policeman just for the fun of it. You do it because you want to serve the public. So I think that we need to be aware that the majority of problems that we're seeing, and Phil has highlighted this for me today, with the police force, that we see and go, why are they doing that? What's going on with them? Why are they helping them? Why aren't they helping us? Is nothing to do with the rank and file police officer and everything to do with the fetid upper elites so enamored of critical social justice, so enamored of everything that you and I know is causing woke and its related infections. My thanks to Phil for a great piece. And please do go and read it and show Phil your appreciation. It's well worth your time. And on that note, I'll leave you to it. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great day.